Cats, cops, and C4. No thought, just movement. If she doesn't move, she's dead or caught. The banger blasts of plasma from special forces slam around her as she dives with her wings wrapped around herself and reinforced to prevent harm. She can sense a brutally fast axiom buildup to produce null and manages to get the directions right. She's elsewhere in a hidden chamber a good distance away from the attack as she enters her emergency vehicle. Illegally fast, military tough, and designed to look like any other random air car on the market. No artist touch or chrome plating on the externals of this vehicle. It was so perfectly boring and plain that alone in a garage, most would think there were simply no cars at all unless they were paying attention. She slips in, and behind a concealing hologram, the door shifts open and she quickly drives out. There's a sensation of numbness that might have something to do with all the excitement, or she spikes her wings every which way and forces the silent with the chloroform to shrink back or get shanked before she fades down through the floor and snaps open her wings and staggers when she touches the ground and then teleports up to the next contingency. She screams as she feels someone latch onto her warping and go through with her. A field of slashing knives erupt from her wings as she tries to fend off whoever it is and get her bearings. "Juliet Comet! Surrender to your lawful arrest!" echoes out from an unseen loudspeaker as she's rocked by a brutal blow. It hits her wing, but it still knocks her flying like a small ball, and she rolls with the attack rather than resist it before morphing her wings into jets and pulling herself through the air as hard as she can. She'll need distance and a few moments to blur her trail if she's going to teleport to safety, and she can't do that while under heavy assault. She spares a single backwards glance to her attacker as she gets a few dozen meters distance. A human, and undaunted. Fuck had she underestimated them. It wouldn't happen twice. She would have revenge for these insults. She would give them a solid century of pain for this insult, if not total annihilation. No organization is without crime, without corruption, and without incompetence. She will use them all to tear them apart from within. There is sudden pain in her thigh, and her wings go from holding her aloft to nowhere near enough to properly even steer a fall as she scrambles and grabs at whatever has impaled itself into her. A needle of Kutha, scrambling her axiom. She rips it out and throws it away and regains control of her wings to swoop as hard as she can and try to... Another hits her right in the rear and she manages to pull it out faster before finally grabbing a device hidden between her breasts. She rips it out of the piercing in her and breaks the circuit. Reality warps as the emergency recall warps her right out of there from an outside source. She had enough distance, and with the needles, her presence was properly scattered. "Ma'am, what's gone wrong? Are you all right? Sit down, I'll take care of..." Miss Small immediately begins to fuss over her as she drops into the hidden lair of the woman and rushes towards the wall panel. This would have been a part of her framing the idiot, but now she needs it as a distraction. Her wing goes through a thin bit of wall and breaks a circuit to activate another distant device. Right as Miss Small's hands wrap around her face while smelling of a chemical that drops her into the darkness of unconsciousness. Costume here, we've got large snoring and tied up. Sounds out over the radio, and there are some chuckles as Omega smirks. "Don't drop your guard, she was breaking a final device as I dropped her. Purpose unknown, there appears to be a small piece of proton in here. Was possibly used to signal something." "You heard the lady. Eyes open." Omega orders, and there are some superfluous weapon checks, but as nervous ticks go, it's solid gold, so he says nothing. Heavy axiom movements under the mansion. A large facility is going full power. The team adept states into the communication frequency so everyone hears it, and Omega nods. "Ma'am, what the hell is happening under that mansion?" Omega demands, as the view screen has not been turned off at the unexpected end of the call with Miss Comet. The guard begins to say before Omega feels his skin go rough as every hair on his body tries to stand up straight. "Down now!" He orders the woman, and she reflexively ducks. Only her horn is taken out in a plume of plasma as she screams in shock and pain. "We're going in! Cops on Civi evac!" Axiom and will coupled with proper form means that the gate fails to so much as slow him down as he charges straight through and up to the mansion. As he moves, he's speaking into his communicator. "Hostiles enlarge as residents. We're going in. Large facility under the mansion and not on the specs. Priority is Civi evac and containment. The guard room is immediately to the right, and the door to that too is given all the same consideration he just gave the gate. He's just in time to shoot Averill wearing Desert Nagasha with a half-dozen plasma throwers, firing them at the security guard. He agitates his brand and empowers it further even as he grabs her by the remaining horn and hauls her away despite the barrage of plasma. She is protected so long as she's in contact with him, and he melts back between the reinforcing men who have arrived and already opened fire on not only the Desert Nagasha, but the forces behind her as well. An entire menagerie of aliens in veils. The Civi is all but tossed onto the Adept, who grabs a local Axiom by the balls and twists, so the poor woman is suddenly leaning against the outside of the outer wall of the mansion with the cops in arm's reach. Omega turns as he draws a knife and then impales an invisible hostile in the face with it before he takes aim with the underslung grenade launcher. Marco, boom right. He orders the grenade-toting demolitionist and fires an impact grenade into the mess. Marco is on point, and the entire small crowd is reduced to rapidly cooling charred meat. Nerd sitrep. Large numbers of hostiles emerging from containers below, splitting into two directions. Here and towards a portal of unknown destination. Then we're going straight through and securing that portal. What's the Civi situation? Mansion is clear of other Axiom signals. We're fairly close to the time most people bow out for the day, so they may have finished early, he says before suddenly snapping his attention to the left and gestures for everyone to form up around him. They do. Contacts on approach. Axiom signal matches cloak and stealth. Activate Axiom filters on mass. The nerd orders and everyone shifts slightly, and the world is suddenly filled with highlights of pale energy. Highlights that clearly show a series of reptile women wearing only veils and holding knives charging fast. They're gunned down in moments even as they all start advancing, and their communicators start going off. Hostiles pouring from a portal in Large's office. Civilians on retreat with police setting up a cordon. Alpha reports. Area beyond portal appears to be a large lab complete with numerous tanks. We're heading in. We might be above you. We'll meet up in the center. Omega returns and he gestures for the squad to follow him as he sets a pace that most would call reckless. But considering his reaction speed and the fact he's juiced it with Axiom, it's downright leisurely and cautious to the point of paranoid. Undaunted forces are coming through the other side of the portal. The nerd confirms as they trace the destruction of things back to a formerly hidden doorway to a path leading down. There's several larger veiled in the way for approximately 5 seconds, 3 of which are used to drag the bodies out of the way before they start going downstairs. Chrome, always damn chrome, someone mutters as they enter the lab. It's easy to clean, is the answer another squad member gives them. We're seeing only a fraction of this place. The area is expanded inside. This laboratory is maybe 10 times the footprint of the mansion itself. And that's only if it doesn't have more levels to it, the nerd states. First we meet up with friendlies, then we get another plan moving. Omega orders as they keep moving. Several large cylinders turn transparent and veil-wearing Nagasha start slithering out. They get around each as they march through. But now that they're inside the belly of the beast, the problems are no longer able to reach a critical mass where they have to pay much in the way of attention. There is a nod as Alpha and Omega approach one another. This whole lab needs to be swept. Everything is coming out with a veil, and the veiled are insanely hostile. Whatever target Large set off, she clearly meant it as a huge distraction. Too bad the idiot's already strung up and on her way to her new temporary home as she waits for the judge, Alpha notes. Adepts, you boys in heavy weapons are keeping the exits closed. Long shots, demolitions, and engineers with us. We're sweeping this place and shutting it down. Minimal damage if possible. This is all evidence, but err on the side of making sure that it's all safe even if you have to kill evidence with it. Omega orders and there are nods before everyone forms up. Over each entrance, portal, and stairway, the adepts quickly help set up heavy weapon emplacements and hold out rifles to shoot anything that needs more precision than massive anti-infantry. Both squads keep their Axiom filter on their masks, and as such, the veiled cloaken trying to sneak up on them end up full of bullets. And in short order, the engineers have each found a different computer, but it's Alpha's team that has the main console. All right, what are we looking at? Alpha asks as his engineer taps away with a few things. A pain in the ass. Hang on a moment. The programming is in another language entirely. I need to reset and get into the... All right, no password, that's good. Come on. It's usually here in this kind of operating system. Languages. Galactic trade is present and accounted for. Here we go. The engineer talks out loud as he slowly goes through the system. As he does this, no less than 20 more veiled are gunned to mold down on their approach. The big plan? Alpha asks, and the engineer scoffs even as he accesses it. This looks too easy. Thinking the same thing, especially as it's labeling Miss Big aka Juliet Comet as the scapegoat and not the perpetrator, the engineer says. Regardless, we'll get the actual computer pros to pour through it. Can you shut down the clone awakening? Working on it, the engineer says before drawing a pistol and shooting a veiled cloak and trying to sneak up on them. All right, fuck. What? According to this, what's going on now is the result of someone not paying some kind of bribe or whatever. There is no off switch, which means we need to kill the power. This is axiom, the power is all around us. Unless we null it, expanded space and no knowledge of the safeties built in, if any, we could get crushed flat as all space collapses like an accordion. Then we need to kill each pod. The engineer says before getting a few more files that give a layout of the pods. Squads, we need to damage the part where the pods meet the floor. There's sensitive and crucial components in there and they're relatively unshielded. You heard the man. Break things, Alpha orders. Explosions rock the facility, a huge plan and massive distraction goes nearly nowhere, and the forces get ahead of all the releasing clones, which leaves a very interesting and important question. What does one do with a small army of unawake and possibly hostile cloned women?